Nick Roush and Adam Luckett here. The bye week's over. It's the hello week. Hello to Tennessee. The Wildcats host the Volunteers Saturday night, 7 p.m. ESPN?
That's right.
7 p.m. ESPN. It's going to be a doozy. I forgot about the tempo until today. It's one of those, it's like a nice reminder, like, oh yeah, Tennessee plays fast. Even though Joe Milton stinks, the Vols do play fast. They still have wide splits. And here's one thing that still needs to happen for Kentucky to beat Tennessee. Just execute. Like I feel like we've done this a lot with Mark Stoops, but through the last week or so, he said kind of what you mentioned on the football podcast last week. It's like, Kentucky isn't playing as bad as we think. It's just the situational moments. Things have kind of spiraled. And that's kind of where Mark Stoops' head's at. Like, hey, if we just execute, it won't look as bad and we can win football games.
Yeah, they've been noticeably bad in the stats that are really important when it comes to winning football games. That's why it's kind of been so frustrating, I think, with this team, because they do have large moments in these games where they play really well. And that was one of the big talking points today, I think, from Stoops, was just like, there's not like, we just got to execute. Like when push
the ball.
when push comes to shove, we have to make plays late in these games in big, high leverage moments. But there's not much he can say. Like, yeah, we're coaching them up, to do this. They just have to go and do it, and we'll see if they can do it on Saturday night. But, Nick, they're going to get in the fourth quarter. They're probably going to be in this game. They're going to have a chance to win it. Can they make the plays late? Or do we see them crumble like they did last time they were on this field? We'll have to wait and find out. But that's really kind of the story of the season. They got to, when the chips are on the line, they got to go make the plays.
And sometimes when they're going to have to make the plays, it's going to be doing something that I often do at the local beer hall, and that's they're going to have to get plastered. We learned what plastering is today. It's not being overserved. It means sticking to your man, getting plastered to them. I appreciated Mark giving us that definition, but when Tennessee does a scramble drill, a.k.a. all hell breaks loose, Stoops was like, I'm not trying to be disrespectful here, but it becomes street ball. It's go get open. If you're high, you run low, vice versa. Guys are just trying to get open. The Kentucky secondary has to be sticky. This is going to be the first time they've really faced an offense like this, where they're going to be out on some islands. The front seven has to be able to apply some pressure on Joe Milton, or else things will get a little bit ugly on Saturday.
I don't think they've really been hurt by off-script playmaking in these Tennessee games. A lot of it's just coverage busts down the field. That's what's killed them. The switch releases, the communication, who to pick up who, a safety or a corner biting on an in-breaker and leaving Jalen Hyatt running down the sideline. That is something we have to figure out. To start both of these games, like last year you had Weaver getting run by, and the year before you had DeAndre Square getting run by. Velus Jones and Jalen Hyatt, both in the NFL. You can't have that kind of stuff this week, especially against the Tennessee offense. They're not hitting vertical haymakers like they have in the past. That's one of the reasons they're having the year they're having. They're struggling a little bit, Nick. They played 3 top 50 defenses, I believe. Florida, Bama, and A&M. They haven't scored more than 20 points in either of those games. So they're like, this is not the offense we've seen from Josh Heupel's team the last 2 years. But Kentucky's got to play to that level. They have to play like they have to produce that same result. They've gotten roasted by Tennessee the last 2 years. Well, a lot of teams have gotten roasted by this Josh Heupel offense, but they're going to have to play better on defense. There's no denying that, and that starts with not having busts. To me, like the plastering is one thing, but it's more so just they've had too many busts in these games the last 2 years. You can't have that again. The obvious blown assignments that leads to big touchdowns.
Yeah, so that goes back to the original point of executing, playing sound football. We also got a little bit of live, laugh, love, Mark Stoops. There was a lot of like adapt, react, readapt, readjust. It was just a lot of like kind of like the signs on the wall that have the words on it. I feel like Mark was reading some of those during the bye week. They've got to do all that sort of stuff to get back to yourself, pick yourself up by your bootstraps. But another thing, everybody's also just got to shake off the last 2 weeks, because I know the fans are certainly feeling it now. Stoops started off by calling out the fans, not calling them out, but asking them to be there. Tennessee 1-5 in their last 6 road games. They've struggled on the road. Now's the time. BBN, bring it. I know we're all feeling a little weird, but when Saturday rolls around and this crowd gets fired up, it could see a rattle Tennessee here at Kroger Field.
Yeah, Tennessee's had some of the same issues at Kentucky, specifically penalties. Has really hurt them. I heard them last week against Alabama. They didn't handle the environment well against Florida. Everybody knows what happened against South Carolina last year. So they have gone on the road and gotten rattled a little bit. So I think that was a call to the fans because I think Mark Stoops knows what's going on.
We're in a bad spot. We're in a real bad spot.
He knows what's going on at KS Board. He knows what's going on Twitter. He knows the kind of message around the fan base with this team right now, and it's just a message like we're all in this together. Like, let's go and try to beat Tennessee together on Saturday. But that was really important. But I think we haven't even touched on the most important part of this press conference, was him basically saying we're not abandoning the passing game.
Yeah.
We're not going to get out here and just, all right, Ray Davis, here's 35 carries. Let's have you run for 2,000 yards and let's go 8-4. They're not doing that. They've done that before. That's literally their plan.
It's really enticing, too. I'm not going to lie.
But now, unless he's playing just a great card here.
Stoops sucks at poker. Yeah. Come on, let's be real.
But
you can't lie to it.
This is what we've talked about on 11 Personnel on the KSR Football Podcast. They have to figure this out. This is the one big thing that's holding this program back. And we've talked about it all last week. They have to figure out how does the quarterback take the ball and how does he throw it to a receiver and how do we get good at that? That's what they have to figure out. And I think it was a sign that they're not scrapping this. They're going to keep throwing the football. And they're going to sink or swim with that passing game. And if it keeps playing like it's playing, they're going to need a life jacket. But if they can figure it out, this offense could really take off because the running game is doing some really, really good stuff. You just got to get the passing game going a little bit, and they could take off. And they have all these games on their schedule that they can win. And if you get the passing game going, you're going to be in a good shape in a lot of them. But you got to get it going. But they're not quitting it. They're going to try their best to figure it out, and we'll see what happens in these last 5 games.
Throwing and catching, easier said than done. We're going to find out if the Cats can do it. Second to last home game of the year. So if you're like, oh, well, I'll go to that other one down the road. Tennessee and Alabama, that's it, folks. Come out here Saturday, get rowdy, Kroger Field, night game. It's going to be a good one. Hopefully the Cats come away with a win. We'll find out. 7 p.m. under the bright lights here at the Krog.